Neutralizes Lukarawa bandits, destroyed 22 camps in Kebbi and Sokoto states. Federal government backs Fly Nigeria Act to empower and ensure fair competition for local airlines. And CBN declares all Naira notes remain legal tender indefinitely, no deadline for old denominations. Many thanks for joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Simisola Atiku. The Nigerian Army has announced its destruction of 22 camps of Lukarawa bandits and the neutralization of scores of them in the latest onslaught against the terrorists in Sokoto and Kebbi states. Speaking on behalf of the Theatre Commander, Operation Fasan Nyama, the Acting General Officer commanding GOC 8 Division of the Nigerian Army, Sokoto, Brigadier General Ibikunle Ajose, confirmed the development at a press conference in Sokoto State. Ajose revealed that the operation, which targeted key bandit enclaves in forests and villages across both states, is part of a strategic offensive authorized by the Chief of Defense Staff to dismantle their strongholds and ensure the security of affected communities. The raids also destroyed 22 camps and neutralized numerous bandits, further disrupting their operations. Troops also recovered 4 rifles, 409 rounds of 7.62mm NATO ammunition, and 94 rounds of 7.62mm special rounds. Ajose noted that the operation is a continuation of earlier efforts by the 8th Division under Operation Fasan Yama, which had conducted preparatory raids and shaped the areas for the current offensive. The issue of amnesty for bandits or terrorists in Kaduna State offered by Governor Uba Sani is still generating strong controversy and debate. The decision has sparked outrage among residents, especially Christian leaders in the state, who argue that families of thousands of people who have either been killed or kidnapped in the recent past in the hands of these perpetrators have not gotten justice. A former chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, Kaduna State, Reverend Joseph Hayab, who spoke on the station's flagship program, TV360, Deji 360 rather, described the state government's action as insensitive to the feelings of victims of terrorism and banditry, who, according to him, should be beneficiaries of government's charity.
Justice for the victims is to see those who cause them pains, those who make them orphans, those who make them widows, those who cause them lost everything they ever had, be brought to justice, be brought to face the consequence of their action. It is when they are facing the consequence of their action and they show remorse and they show regret and they show how sorry they are, then we talk about amnesty. Justice has not been done. They have not even admitted they've committed any crime. They are just, you just dangle carrots on them for something. So any other person who probably out of poverty want to benefit from your carrot will also claim to be a bandit. Well, in reality, people are still in pains. Show me a woman whose children and husbands were killed, and she's just wondering when will she start, only to watch on television or listen on the radio or read on the pages of newspaper that those who caused her these pains are given amnesty and to be rehabilitated by government. Wait a minute, what about her? Where is her own justice? Where is her own succor? And that's the question we ask. Neither myself or other Christians leaders were consulted, because if we were consulted, the first thing we'll advise government is what measure, or will inquire from government is, what are you doing for the victims? What have you done for the victims? Because if it must happen, it has to work pari passu. Victims this way, perpetrators this way. But you can't just have one and the other. You see, we keep giving rooms in our poor judgment or poor way of implementing policies to give room for people to start thinking that we are siding others and not caring for another. I think the governor himself knows that they erred in this. And those who advise him really know that they didn't consult well about this, because we are talking about some people who have killed some people's mother, killed some people's father, killed some people's breadwinners, killed some people's children, kill some people's neighbors, make some women become widows, make some men become widowers, make some children become orphans, and they collected huge money from them. They are already facing the problem of refunding the money they borrow to get their loved ones back, or they gave money and lost their loved one, and nothing is done about them. And you're talking about amnesty. I think someone do not understand Pence.
The federal government has thrown its weight behind the proposed Fly Nigeria Act, a legislative move designed to bolster the country's domestic aviation sector by prioritizing local airlines for government-funded air travel. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development Festus Keyamo made the announcement in Abuja during a stakeholders' engagement on the proposal over the weekend. He emphasized that the act would create a fair playing ground for Nigerian airlines and curb what he described as a global conspiracy against the growth of the African aviation industry. Meanwhile, Nigeria's House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the alleged mismanagement and misapplication of $232 million for accelerating nutrition results in Nigeria World Bank program. The resolution of the House followed the adoption of a motion moved at plenary on Thursday by Honorable Chike Okafor, who explained the performance-based project uses loans to address nutritional challenges in Nigeria. He added that an investigation would determine the extent of the alleged mismanagement of funds in the iron program, evaluate its impact, identify responsible parties, and propose accountability measures for future $50 million interventions.
It has appeared to produce miraculous and obviously ineffective outcomes, taking cognizance of the reports and current indicators of Nigeria amidst such a huge and humongous loan from the World Bank. Worried that the recently released Nigeria Demographic Health Survey 2023 and 2024 indicated a worsening of nutrition specifics, with indices showing an increase in under 5 stunting and malnutrition, and the current realities raising questions about the $232 million spent for nutritional intervention and Nigeria's poor global ranking.
Our mission is to end tuberculosis and to support the efforts globally to do so, to champion the work within each country and to work together as parliamentarians to beat this terrible disease. We salute the work that you are doing in Nigeria and the tremendous progress that you are making here. You are holding a summit this week, a high-level summit on the matter, and that is a sign of the great progress that you are making here. And we wish to do everything that we can to support you and to encourage parliamentarians to become members of the caucus.
I want to urge the members of this House, Mr. Speaker, to come out and go to their constituencies and speak about tuberculosis because it's a deadly disease. I want to challenge you members. Tuberculosis does not have a border, does not have a bodyguard, does not have a religion, does not spare anyone. Mr. Speaker, all of us here, we are in danger of contracting tuberculosis because it's airborne transmitted disease.
Education stakeholders from across Nigeria have convened in Abuja for a two-day workshop aimed at validating the reviewed National Teacher Education Policy, originally developed in 2014. The event, organized by under the auspices of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, sought to enhance the policy's content and implementation strategies for greater impact. Our correspondent Emeka Mako files in the report.
Teachers, often described as nation builders, play a pivotal role in shaping the future of any country. According to UNESCO, teacher education is the foundation for ensuring quality teaching and learning outcomes. Nigeria currently faces challenges in teacher quality, with a 2023 report showing that over 40% of teachers in public primary schools lack professional qualifications. In his remarks, UNESCO's representative to Nigeria, Abdurrahmani Diallo, emphasized the importance of robust policies in equipping teachers for lifelong learning.
The objective of this meeting are to present the draft reviewed policy and to discuss and make inputs to enrich the content and implementation strategy of the draft policy. With the caliber of participants at this workshop, I have no doubt that this objective will be achieved.
It is also essential to recognize that the validation of this review policy is not only a technical endeavor, but also a key deliverable in the current administration renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, with its commitment to reposition education as a cornerstone of national development.
Key stakeholders, including Nigerian Union of Teachers (NUT) and the Federal Ministry of Education, highlighted the need for continuous professional development for teachers.
The process of reviewing the MTEP is a reflection of the ministry's commitment to making education in Nigeria responsive to the demands of the 21st century, ensuring that we equip our teachers with the skills and knowledge they need to address the evolving challenges of the classroom.
The rapidly changing world is faced with a number of emerging challenges, such as climate change, technological expansion and digital divide, demographic changes, among other emergencies, which have impacted the education landscape, leading to the crisis of inequity, relevance, and learning poverty.
The Nigerian Governors Forum pledged full support for this policy review, assuring stakeholders that state governments are committed to implementing teacher education reforms in line with the new policy.
It comes to implementation when the policy is being formulated. It is the states that will drive the implementation policy framework. And without the states domesticating these policies that we formulate at the national level, it becomes difficult for us to implement them.
As deliberations wrap up, stakeholders hope the revised policy will bridge existing gaps and strengthen Nigeria's teacher education subsector for sustainable development.
Meanwhile, stakeholders in Nigeria's health sector have highlighted the role of the media in the promotion of health and wellness campaigns in the country. Speaking at the 8th Annual Conference of the Association of Nigeria Health Journalists in Abuja, speakers described journalists as a transformative force to educate, engage, support, and drive behavioral change. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, Daju Kacholum, reaffirmed the ministry's unwavering commitment to transparency and accountability in the nation's health sector.
As the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, we remain resolute in our mission to ensure that health information, policies, and services are accessible to every Nigerian. We recognize that an informed and enlightened populace is fundamental to achieving improved health outcomes. It is in this light that we have embraced the sector-wide approach to ensure one plan, one budget, one report, and one conversation.
As journalists, we play a vital role in promoting health awareness, education, and advocacy through our reporting. We can hold stakeholders accountable for their actions and policies, provide a platform for marginalized voices to be heard, promote evidence-based health information and best practices.
Our programs have contributed to quality laboratory infrastructure across the country and research into infectious and non-infectious diseases. To address tuberculosis in the country, we have implemented Global Fund programs to address multi-drug resistant tuberculosis and are currently collaborating with the government and other partners to integrate a countrywide tuberculosis and HIV services.
It is so important because people have to read. One person cannot reach all the nooks and crannies of this country. And none of us, even those of us professionals who work in NAFDA to regulate, we can't get it all across. So with your support, a lot goes out, and the consumer is enlightened, and the consumer knows what to look for, how to avoid counterfeit medicines, and how to avoid unwholesome products.
As West African leaders gather for the 64th ECOWAS Summit in Abuja on Sunday, December 15, the West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network has renewed its call for the institutionalization of presidential term limits and a stronger commitment to democracy in the region. During a pre-summit roundtable and panel discussion on Friday in Abuja, WADEMO's research analyst David Asante Dako emphasized on the urgent need to address unconstitutional changes of government and safeguard democratic governance. Echoing these sentiments, the advocacy officer for WADEMO stressed the overwhelming demand for West Africans for term limits, adding that partial measures or selective implementation would not only harm the credibility, of the regional body.
As ECOWAS prepares to clock its 50-year mark, its present socio-political climate requires immediate intervention to forestall further reversals of democracy in the sub-region, prominent among whose drivers remains the challenge of presidential term elongation. Regional integration remains vital to the security and prosperity that all citizens seek. As ECOWAS prepares to transcend this milestone into its new phase of existence, we urge the authority of heads of state and government to rigorously explore all avenues to retain Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger within the ECOWAS.
If, as a president of maybe not Nigeria, president of country A, you decide to say you need to make it 10 years from 4-year term that we have, you should not benefit from the 10 years. If that happens, nobody will elongate term. That is what I said. That's the US model. Safeguard against those laws that make you, okay, now I'm starting, okay, we now have a law, we now have a term limit in our constitution, so I'm starting afresh. No. We should not have a Côte d'Ivoire experience. But ECOWAS need to be strong enough to make those decisions. But if it's in the protocol, they will enforce it.
We'll take a short break, but still to come on News Now, Turkey to reopen embassy in Syria as diplomats meet for high-level talks. We'll give you details when the news returns shortly. Welcome back. Let's take you through our major stories. The Nigerian Army has announced the destruction of 22 camps of Lukarawa bandits and the neutralization of scores of the bandits in the latest onslaught against them in Sokoto and Kebbi State. The acting general commanding 8th Division of the Nigerian Army, Sokoto Brigadier General Ibikunle Ajose, who spoke on behalf of the theater commander, Operation Fasan Yama, said the operation is a continuation of earlier efforts by the troops, which had conducted preparatory raids and shaped the areas for the current offensive. We also informed you that the federal government has thrown its weight behind the proposed Fly Nigeria Act, a legislative move designed to bolster the country's domestic aviation sector by prioritizing local airlines for government-funded air travel. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development Festus Keyamo, who made the announcement in Abuja during a stakeholders' engagement on the proposal over the weekend, assured that the act would create a fair playing ground for Nigerian airlines and curb what he described as a global conspiracy against the growth of the African aviation industry. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store on Facebook. We're at TV360 online. On business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has reiterated that both the old and redesigned Naira notes of 1,000, 500 and 200 Naira denominations will remain legal tender indefinitely, putting to rest rumors of a December 31 deadline for the phasing out of the old notes. In a statement issued on Friday by the Acting Director of Corporate Communications, Hakama Ali, the bank cited a Supreme Court ruling delivered on November 29, 2023, which permits the concurrent circulation of all versions of the affected denominations without any deadline. It said the clarification follows widespread misinformation regarding the validity of the old notes. The CBN urged the public to disregard claims suggesting the old notes of these denominations would cease to be valid at the end of this year. Meanwhile, commercial banks in Kenya are holding back on offering lower interest rates to customers following delays in a risk-based pricing model that lets them charge higher for riskier borrowers. This move comes after last week's policy meeting where the Central Bank of Kenya lowered the rate by 0.75% to 11.25% to stimulate economic growth, marking the third successive rate cut since the first of 0.25% in August 2024. And on the foreign scene, Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier is wrapping up his 4-day trip to Africa with a visit to Lesotho on Saturday, marking the first visit by a German president to the kingdom. Steinmeier's trip comes at the invitation of King Letsie III, who extended the invitation during a visit to Berlin last year. The visit follows a series of discussions in South Africa with President Cyril Ramaphosa on Friday. Lesotho has faced political instability since gaining independence from the United Kingdom in 1966, and Steinmeier's visit is seen as a step towards strengthening ties between Germany and the Southern African nation. Turkey is set to reopen its embassy in Damascus on Saturday, nearly a week after President Bashar al-Assad was ousted by forces backed by Ankara and 12 years after the diplomatic mission was closed early in Syria's civil war. The move comes as Middle Eastern and Western diplomats gather in Jordan for high-level talks on Syria, and a day after nationwide celebrations marked Assad's removal. Turkey has been a key player in Syria's conflict, exerting significant influence in the northwest and financing armed groups, including the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which led the offensive that resulted in Assad's ousting. And on sports, Nigeria's national cricket team, the Yellow Greens, are set to face Uganda in the final of the International League 20 Cup on Saturday. Their dramatic turnaround journey to the final follows impressive victories over Botswana and Rwanda. Uganda, on the other hand, has been in outstanding form throughout the tournament, remaining unbeaten in the group stage. Finally, Senegal has appointed Pape Choua as the new national coach. The 43-year-old's appointment was confirmed by the Senegalese Football Federation on Friday. Thao has been serving as interim coach since October following the dismissal of Aliou Cissé, who had led the team since 2015, guiding Senegal to their first Africa Cup of Nations title in 2022 and to the last 2 World Cup tournaments. Well, that's it on News Now. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.